let's jump straight into the video. Alright guys, super excited today. As you can see, I got a box here from Pisces. So you might have seen that I did the hardscape video when I'm trying to make a really good aquascape. So if you didn't catch that video, put the link in the card above. But I reached out to my good friends at Pisces here and said, you know, I've got an aquascape that I'm setting up. Can I buy some plants off you? And luckily enough, they have hooked me up here. So let's jump in, unbox and see exactly what they've sent me. We can move the box away so I don't give away my address. It's always a good idea. Alright, so if we just pick one at random, what have we got here? Ooh, we've got a really nice green tiger lotus. 3 pots of dwarf hair grass. That's going to be awesome. Ooh, we've got some Crips wholessaler. That's going to be really good. I like this sort of taller Crips. We've got some Crips undulatus. So I'm keen to play with a fair few Crips here in this new scape. And another Crips me oh yeah, which is oh yeah, so good. What do we got? We got a couple of Pogostem Health on clay pots there, which is really cool. Looks like all these plants so far have been submerged grown, which is really great. The only difference is that you don't have to basically convert them over. I have played with a lot of the Pisces tissue culture range as well, and they're pretty good because the thing about tissue cultures is you don't have to worry about any sort of algae or snails or any other critters getting in, but I'm super happy to not have to convert these over, that's for sure. We've got some Pisces Enrich here, which should keep everything all nice and healthy and allow these guys to settle in. So that's the Pisces range of fertilizer here. I was lucky enough to pick up a little bit of this at the expo, but certainly appreciative of getting some more, that's for sure. We've got some Telanthera here, which is a pretty cool little plant. We'll get some nice reds happening. And we've got some Crips Wenty Brown, which is a really nice Crips as well. Looks really different in that form versus what it will look like underwater. So that one is certainly emerge grown. In here we've got some Rotala Walichi, which is a really exciting plant I'm keen to play around with here. Stem plant, it's going to be one for the background here. And in the submerged grown state it won't be as green as that. So looks like there is a bit of a mixture of submerged and immersed grown here. It wouldn't be much of an aquascape without some Monte Carlo. So I've got 5 pots of Monte Carlo here, which is going to basically cover a lot of the foreground and in amongst the rocks. And here we have some Rotala Macrandra. It did come wrapped in paper towel, but I've just taken it out so I can see what it is. Yeah, I'm keen to play around with this Rotala as well. It is a bit more of a difficult Rotala to grow, so you're going to want to have CO2 and high light and all that with this one, but keen to play with this one. And last but not least, I also wanted to get my hands on a few nice pieces of Java Fern. The ones that I've already got, for the most part, are covered in blackbeard algae, so I wanted to put some nice pieces in and not basically ruin the scape immediately by putting in some blackbeard riddled Java Fern. So once I get this paper towel open, you can take a bit of a look. But yeah, so this is the micro Indo Java Fern from Pisces here. So they'll do some really nice jobs, especially just planting them in amongst the rocks. So super appreciative to Pisces for sending me all these plants. Definitely recommend their plants. They are everywhere in Australia, so no doubt you've come across them before. It's also handy if you do see those sort of plants that you don't come across that often, especially if they're in the tissue culture form. You can keep them and store them for quite a while. So I've certainly hoarded a few plants before in my day, picking up those tissue culture cups and just keeping them under some light. Also with these ones here with the net pots and rock wool, you can just keep them in the rock wool as well. The rock wool does have some nutrients in it, so you may get some algae if you put like a heap of them in a tank all at once. But for example, I've got the trident leaf Java fern still in the net pot just because I haven't bothered to attach it to anything just yet, and I just wanted it to be weighed down, so I just left it exactly as is, drop it in the tank, and it fell straight into place. So the next step, I guess, is to go over and get these in the tank, and we'll start playing around with the planting of the aquascape. Okay, so we're over here at the scape now. This is where we left it off last time. The only real difference is I need to put a path up the middle. Other than that, we're just going to load this up with plants. And I think because a lot of these plants are actually submerged growing, we might even be able to flood it up today. So we'll jump in right now and start planting it out. First up, I think we're going to just start with the foreground. So I'm going to start to just spread some Monte Carlo all around the base, around these mini rocks, I think. Really, really impressive pots of Monte Carlo that I've been sent out here. As you can see, I got some nice growth happening. And yeah, I'm pretty impressed with these. So the way that we're going to use these is pretty simple. We're just going to take the plant, take off all the rock wool where we can, just to avoid any sort of algae breakouts and stuff like that once the tank's going. So I'll just tear that off and put it in a bucket. I actually just threw it on the floor, but don't tell anybody. Okay, so then once the rock wool is gone, we're left with these sort of bare rooted plants, and really simple process from there. We just sort of rip it off into clumps and take our tweezers and plant it in exactly like that. This job actually calls for something a bit bigger. The good thing about Monte Carlo is it can easily go up in the crevices of rocks and things like that as well. So don't be feeling like you have to plant it in the substrate. Yeah, I'm just gonna wait till the end and maybe accent some pieces with it, but you can certainly plant it on rocks and driftwood and stuff like that as well. So with this aquascape, I want to sort of keep the Monte Carlo around any areas that are below the formation. So if you think about everything outside of the tank, I imagine it just to be covered in Monte Carlo. So like anything sort of at the base of this mountain, I'll have it at the side of the paths and just at the start here. But then as we move further back, it'll be like the landscape is transforming. That's the way I see it anyway. Save myself getting too carried away with the Monte Carlo. I'm going to start to place some dwarf hairgrass, and this will be sort of at the next layer up. We'll place some around here as well, just to sort of start that transition from foreground plants into mid and stem into mid and background plant. So this is the dwarf hairgrass here. Again, it's pretty nice looking specimen. I'm just going to trim some of the roots off, so some of the leaves off about halfway, just because they're going to melt back anyway, and I want to get a bit of a better idea of what the end result's going to be, so I'm just going to do that. Similar process, just throw the rock wool on the ground, and we're just going to rip off little clumps of this and plant it like a little plug. Back. I might actually just put one more pot of the hairgrass in, and then we'll start with the next plant in the transition. I'm going to go ahead and give it another spray down. So I do think it's starting to come together now. The next plant in the transition is the Pogostem Health, because it's going to be that next step a little bit bigger than the hairgrass. So we'll jump in now and we'll put some Pogostem Health around this area, the underside of the rocks, and around these two the secondary sort of feature rocks over here. So the next two biggest after this formation here. This Pogostem Health here comes in a little clay cylinder, and I want to give you a little bit of an inside scoop on these. If you keep these afterwards, they make great hides for shrimp. So you can keep a bunch of them, super glue them together, and you got yourself a little DIY shrimp tower. So I'll hold on to these for sure. Super nice, lush looking plant, really healthy. So whoever grew this one has done a really great job. So I'm not afraid to place a Pogostem really close to the hair grass. It will really do a good job, in my opinion, to smooth out the transition. Yeah, so I think it's starting to come together now. I would like to see a bit more health right over this side, but it's very shallow there, the substrate. So I might have to put a little bit more in there just to bulk it out. Other than that, I quite like this side here, but it's pretty linear. So like the Monte Carlo stops here, the hair grass stops here, the Pogostem stops there. So I do also think that will need some smoothing out at a later stage. At this point in time, I'm fairly comfortable. I'm going to put the sand path in through here. And to do that, I'm going to use a funnel. Let me show you a little trick. Actually, the sand needs to dry out. So we are going to keep on with the planting whilst it dries. So the next step, I'm going to put these Java ferns. So on this side, I'm going to put it just between the rocks. And over on this side, I think we're going to super glue a little rock fragment, and we'll stick it right in this crevice here, and I think it will look pretty good. So we don't mess with the weight of the scape. If you're not sure what I mean there, we've got basically twice as much stuff over this side that we do over this side. So we're going to put 2 of these Java fern plants together over this side and 1 over this side so that it balances out. So to attach this, I've got a piece of the dragonstone here, nice flat piece. I've just got some gel super glue. So I'm just going to load it up with some gel super glue here. And when you stick this down, you want to get, you want to be sticking these sort of hairier root parts, not the actual rhizome, because if you super glue too much of the rhizome, you will kill the plant. So we're just holding it for a minute. Hopefully our thumbs don't get stuck here. That's all stuck down now. That's the sort of look that I want, so we just take it and put it right in just like that. And voila, we have ourselves a Java fern place. So it does look kind of weird. I think we should put the other Java fern in as well. And I think a good place for it will be in this little nook here, and probably just another one in the front over here. So we'll go ahead and unwrap the other Java fern. The good thing about these Pisces plants are that you usually get a few different pieces in. They're not stingy with the plants. So I like that, it gives you a lot more options. So as you can see, that one bunch was actually 5 plants, so that's pretty awesome. We have got balance on both sides, so I'm quite happy with how it's going. And I think it might be time to start to put in some of the stem plants at the back, fill that in and see what we're going to look like before going ahead, putting in the path and filling out the areas beside the path. For the background, we've got a couple of options to play with here. We've got the Rotala macrandra, which you can see here. We've got the Rotala wallichi, which is here. And we've also got the Talanthera. So this plant is kind of like the Alternithera renekii mini, the red foreground plant that I've got in my shrimp tank. And it's kind of like a longer version of that. So I think this is going to be a really cool mixture. And we may also grab some green stem plants from other tanks just to balance it out if there's too much red and orange, because these are really colourful stem plants, so we'll take a bit of a look. So here we have the pot of Rotala wallichi. So this plant's kind of cool that you can actually just cut it in half if you want more stems, which I might end up doing. So I'm just going to go ahead and separate these out, and usually what I do is just hang them over the edge of the aquarium. If anyone knows of like a side table that you could hang on the edge of an aquarium for scaping, let me know down below how I would get one, because I think that would be a really cool idea if it exists. Just a little hang on table where you can put your plant trimmings and all that. I think it would be really great for maintenance. So my theory for the background stem plants is I'm going to just mix them all together. I'm not going to have particular areas, I don't think, or if I do, I'll have like the wallichi and then the macrandra and then the Talanthera, Actually, yeah, I might do that. I'll do Wallacea, Macrandra, Telanthera. And then on the other side, I'm going to basically mirror that. So we're also going to have Wallacea, Macrandra, and Telanthera. Now the Wallacea's all in. I have put a very little amount of it on this side, and I will keep it trimmed really short just to keep the depth in the scape there. A lot of times if you create a path and then just have a wall of plants, it kind of messes with the look of it because yeah, it's very confusing. Where's the path lead to? Just a wall of plants. And I'm certainly guilty of that as well. So just keep that in mind, and that's the theory that I've gone by there. Okay, so that's most of the background done. We'll just get, it's really mid-ground, but we'll put this Telanthera in now. So yeah, really nice looking plant, quite sturdy looking stems and everything like that. Rock wool once again, just pull those off. Really great plant to transition from the foreground to the stems. Kind of tempted to just put one straight in the middle there. Might do it. If I don't like it later, I can always pull it out. Okay, so I really think it's starting to come together now. It is probably about time we put the sand in, because after that we can really fill it up full of Monte Carlo. So it might be time now to go ahead and put the sand in. So my trick that I did have for you was to actually use a funnel to get a really nice clean line of sand, but unfortunately it only works with dry sand, and the sand that I'm using today is going to be wet. So we're just going to go ahead and attempt to do it by hand. So I'm just going to create sort of like a lump in the middle, and then I'll smooth it out with the tongs. To create depth, you want it wider at the front and narrower at the back, but other than that, there's really not a lot to it. We'll have a go at that now and see what we can do with it. If you do have a scape with a sand path in it, probably not the best idea to put in any cories or bristlenose or any other sort of boisterous bottom dwellers that are just going to kick it around. Not exactly quite sure what fish I'm going to put in here yet. Haven't thought that far ahead. But I think that's not too bad. Probably just bulk it out a little bit more so that it doesn't all disappear. So I think I'm just going to, I thought it was basically a shame if I didn't use any of these Crips in here. So the one I've decided I'm going to use is the old Cript Wenti Mi Oya, which is a yellowy, browny, screeny sort of Cript that'll suit well, I think, in these spaces here, just this gap here and down the side there, just as a little bit of an extra transition and a bit of a more formal mid-ground plant. So if you do plant Crips, they're pretty easy plant. They're not going to need highlight or CO2 at all. What they will appreciate is a bit of a root tab underneath, but we've got some brand new Amazonia soil here, so be just as good of a job. And yeah, so this is what the Cript plant will look like. Also, if you do plant it and it all dies back, don't be alarmed. Don't pull the roots out of the water or the substrate either. It will bounce back. They're really prone to what's called Cript melt, where basically as a defense mechanism they will just shrink back to nothing. So I'll just break these up into little bunches and we'll plant a few of these in the mid-ground. Okay, so we're nearly there. Basically just got to put one more pot of this Monte Carlo around. Just going to fill in all the areas with it. Any sort of areas I think that look bare, could do with a bit more greenery. We're going to jam some of this in there. Alright, so I think that's going to pretty much do it. We won't know for sure until I fill it up with water, and we better hook up the CO2, so we'll jump around and do that. so that we don't ruin the scape that we've so painstakingly put together here, I've got some bubble wrap, and I like to just put it in the scape, probably at a low area, and we'll just sort of create a bit of a cup. And then this is how I fill up my tank, so and let it fill up. So I've given it 24 hours just to settle in, have a bit of a look at it. In the meantime, what I've done here is just hooked on this hang-on back filter just to get a bit of movement happening. And also I have hooked up the CO2, so just a 2.6 kilo. So I'll just run it pretty much like that. Whatever that is, 1.5 bubbles a second, something like that. Okay, so and the CO2 diffuser is way down the bottom there. I want to get it as low as I can in the aquarium to give the bubbles the longest possible time to diffuse into the water column. It may or may not be a good thing or a bad thing having the outlet of the hang-on back here. That's probably going to be the most oxygenated area, but also that is going to help to disperse the CO2 around the aquarium. So I'm just going to test it out there for a minute and see how it goes, but that's pretty much all there is to it. I haven't got a heater in this yet. I'm not sure if I will put one in. If so, I'll just put it at the back there. Bit concerned about how much light is going to get to this macrandra and that, so there's a fair chance that I actually move it to the back corner here, just because I'd hate for it to just die in the back for no reason. But overall, I think it came up pretty good. Pretty happy with that now, and hopefully you enjoyed this process. So if you did like this build, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe and all that fun stuff, and look out for the next video in this series, which is figuring out what fish we're going to put in it. If you got some ideas for fish, be sure to drop them down below. Other than that, I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.